In today's video, I want to go over my journey on how I, in my opinion, have mastered Spider-Man inside of Marvel Rivals. Now, I don't have him up to Lord or an insanely large amount of hours, but I've dedicated quite a lot of time recently to try to get better as him. And honestly, looking at my match history and personally just whenever I play as him, he is now going to be my main character, and I couldn't be more happier because it is such a challenging character to play as. Now, this is going to be me talking about my console journey, and I feel like if you're on PC, you probably have a way easier experience with him because most of the time whenever I played against players, they were usually PC players that mastered Spider-Man, and I always felt like I was kind of lacking in the ability of that. But in today's video, I want to tell you that if you ever wanted to learn Spider-Man or improve with him, you just can. So the first thing that I want to go over is my settings that I have on Spider-Man, and this is specifically on Spider-Man. My sensitivity is kind of really high. This is just the overall one that I have on normal, and as you can see, horizontal is 390 and vertical is 370. This one is completely up to you. Also, some of these settings I have gotten off of other content creators just because I was curious what will work for me and what won't. I didn't copy them directly, obviously, because I feel like most of the people wouldn't recommend to have these high sensitivities because, you know, it's just a preference thing, and also some other stuff. So I'm not going to be going into insane detail on them, but if you're curious, I'm just going to like slowly zoom through them and show you the ones that I personally like to apply. As you can see, I made difference to the aim assist window size. I have it down to 25, and also I made a difference in the aim assist ease in. One of the things that I think kind of matters is your custom reticle, which also took me a while to figure out how to get it correctly because most of the guides on YouTube never specifically told you what you had to change, and that is number one, you need to save it, and number two, make sure you get rid of the reticle animation. This will allow you to create this funky little thing over here. Honestly, create whatever you like. I like this little kind of icon with blue because it makes it more visible personally with my eyesight, and these are the like settings that I have on it. I just don't want to spend too much time on this, so if you are curious, you can pause the video and copy them, or I feel like most of the people already have this done. And then lastly, there are some very important settings for the hero itself. Number one, hold to swing. This is definitely one of the best. You're about to be removed from the game. Oops, let's move a tiny bit. Anyway, let's go back to combat and go over to the settings. Okay, so the first number one thing is hold to swing, just because this will allow you to web sling, and you're gonna have to actually hold, if you're on PlayStation, L1 to swing around, which is definitely better than pressing it and then having to press again to let go. Automatic swing, this will at first, if you haven't really tested it out, be really annoying. It took me a while to get used to it, but it's huge. Automatic swing essentially removes the idea of, oh, if I would have pressed web sling, it would have automatically locked on to this part of the building and swung away, whereas I have to specifically look at the area and web sling myself, which is definitely something that I would recommend for you to change, as it does make a huge difference. And the last thing that I think matters is hold to wall crawl. This is something that I didn't change until recently, and this essentially removes the idea of going up to a wall. Basically have to hold down to go onto it. It removes you pressing maybe X by it and then accidentally going on the wall and you're just stuck on it. So this time around, you're gonna have to specifically walk up and hold it, which will take a bit of getting used to if you have played it differently. But the amount of times I was in situations where I just mistakenly jumped on a wall, got stuck on it, and basically got killed by one of the people that, you know, want to kill me or something. The next thing that I will 100% recommend for you to do, and this is basically what allowed me to get better as Spider-Man apart from playing as him, is practice range. If you don't know, you can essentially come in here and just mess around for countless hours unless you AFK like I did a while ago and almost got kicked. And here is where you're going to be able to test out movement. Basically, I think movement is the most important thing with Spider-Man. We'll get into some of the movesets, which I feel like if you have played as him, you might know. But there are certain things that you can apply to the character that will allow you to get out of really intense situations where you might be losing a fight, or just overall movement itself. So personally, I like to test it around here because it's uneven land and you're going to have most of your games not being super comfortable and super like flat areas. But you can also go down to the practice range, which if you don't know, if we go over here and you basically just go down there and there's like a huge area that you can mess around in. But this will also allow you to web sling, and just it's more unique terrain, which is something that I preferred using for my testing. So first of all, I think web slinging is going to be something I do recommend for you to mess around with the most. Also, something to mention is if you want to have infinite uses on your like abilities, you can turn off cooldown, and also a friendly fire if you ever want to test out on your friends, like maybe your abilities as Spider-Man. Definitely doing this will kind of like allow you to fully mess around with web slinging. And as you can see, I'm not like the best at web slinging. It's definitely something that I only use to like get away from an area, go over, wait around, maybe find a healing pack, which is huge for Spider-Man because healers won't be always there for you, and then go back into the fight. But something that I really am happy I was able to learn, even though I'm not absolutely perfect at it, because it's kind of really, it's just luck based unless you get into the actual feel of it, and it is essentially this move. Yeah, you go flying. You don't actually have to apply the punch itself, but it's something that I like to do, at least in the practice range, as it allows me to go super far away. But you can also just apply a bunny hop kind of a feature by basically jumping, as I'm gonna do, backwards, jump, web swing to the ground, and shoot the ground. This is huge for movement because it allows you to get like a little boost, and then you can essentially fly off if perhaps you die in a convoy mission, and then you have to get back to your team. Doing this quickly and sacrificing that punch to make that little bit of a boost, and then getting closer to your teammates or the enemy team to maybe then ult on them. Oh god, am I gonna die? Oh. Well, I died. It's definitely something that I would personally recommend for you to learn. So I'm going to quickly try to break it down just so you understand it more and mess around with it as much as you can inside of the practice range. It's going to take you a while. It took me a good few, maybe even like 2 hours of just messing around in practice range, just doing anything. It's definitely the best way to learn characters if it's just your aim assist or other stuff. Hello, can I get up on top of you? What I'm going to do is press X on PlayStation, but I like to do it jumping backwards. Oops, that wasn't jumping backwards. Okay, let's get off of that. So jumping backwards, it kind of just, I don't know, it gives me more of a move. Then I press L1, which is to web swing to the ground, and I press and hold, and then quickly I essentially press L2, which is to shoot the webs on the ground. And also, if you do it super fast, you can combine the two of them, and then also press L1, L2 at the same time, X and square, and that will allow you to fly super far. So let's see if I can get my first go. There we go. And then you can kind of like do it almost infinitely to the point where you like bug out and don't actually hit the ground. But pressing X and square is also huge, unless you're just trying to do a normal bunny hop. You definitely do want to see. There we go. You just gotta press X sometimes, and you can sometimes get into a bit of a momentum where you can actually bunny hop, but I don't know, I don't really like using that one as much inside of my matches. Personally, whenever I'm like super far away and I gotta get close, I like to use the square punch ability, even though it does use it up. But you know what, if need be, it's super good to get super far, super fast. And now let's talk about quickly just the move sets on enemies. So right here I have a Venom. If you don't know, you can test this out yourself by pressing Spiderman specifically on this tablet, and it'll allow you to test out the Venom ability, which is huge. If you ever have Venom teammates, you gotta thank them because they will be giving you such a huge buff that is just incredible for taking down heroes. So first we're gonna be testing it out on these robots, and basically what you want to do as Spider-Man is always web them as much as you can. Personally, I don't try to, you know, fully kill them like that. I just did it because I'm not going to wait until that bot, or well, I need the bot essentially to be dead. So what we're going to be doing here is webbing them twice this time around. Web twice, press R1 to zap, and then press square and then punch. Now the little problem that comes with doing 2 web hits is the fact that they won't die. You essentially want to finish them off fully. So if you do 2 web hits, then zap, punch, you always will have to punch or web them as well. The amount of times you will get into situations where you're out of webs or out of punches or out of zapping is very frustrating, but that's when you're supposed to essentially do your move of, oh god, I gotta get out of there. You might not have the square or the web, so you're gonna have to quickly Spider-Man away and go somewhere, get a health pack, heal, and then come back. You're essentially gonna become the most annoying player in your match, and unfortunately that's just what comes with Spider-Man. I always had it happen whenever I played against Spider-Man, and I have finally become the thing I hate the most. But this is where I guess 3 webs come in. So this is a 250, I think, character, right? Wait, how much health do you have? Does it say? I think they're 250. So if you web them 1, 2, 3, and then zap over it, and you'll be able to fully kill them. Now this will only apply to characters like DPS or healers. It won't actually apply to tanks. Going for tanks, you can sometimes kind of bamboozle them at times. It's kind of hopeless, but personally, I just don't try to do it. I always try to go for DPS more than actually healers, just because usually, well, I guess it also depends on how much health they have. You might even have to shoot them 4 times. So there we go. It really does depend on the character, but definitely don't go for tanks. Do not. But this is where this guy comes in and makes this whole thing just that much more incredible. Thank you with that tongue, my good sir. Is because you just gotta shoot them twice, zap over, and then triangle. Square, and triangle. It's like the best combo. This bad boy right here, this thing, oh, it's incredible to take down enemies. And I will be telling you my favorite enemies to take down because I'm a bit of a bully to certain heroes. They're just so much easier to take down than others. Oopsie, I messed up there. And the heroes that I like to take down personally are Iron Man. Iron Man are like the easiest heroes to take down just because they have like very little health and they're up in the sky, they're hopeless. So if you zap them twice, or well, zap them, if you web them twice and then grapple over to them with the R1 ability on console and then punch them and then triangle or even just punch them, Iron Man will basically hate you. I've had lobbies where I basically either pissed them off enough to switch characters or switch to a Spider-Man, ironically, or I have also pissed them off so much that they have sent messages into the chat telling me to touch grass. I promise I try to do that as much as I can. Now there's 3 different heroes that I would say have become one of my least favorite to go up against just because the amount of times I lose fights against them. The first one is Wanda. Wanda players just love running around and holding down their trigger. There is literally no skill to that character. You know what? Whatever. Wanda stands exist and people just have awful aim, so they gotta cope in some kind of way by playing her. And then there's 2 other ones that also can combine with a third, which makes it so much worse, and that is unfortunately Bucky and Punisher. Bucky's love grabbing Spider-Man. The amount of times I've been grabbed by a Bucky who just takes me out of my ult is ridiculous, and the amount of times I've been shotgunned by a Punisher is also ridiculous. The nice thing with Punishers is most of the time there'll be awful players that just like to play him because it's such a normal, like, you know, oh, I'm a first-person shooter player, I'm gonna play Punisher. But unfortunately, Bucky's are most of the time cracked, and they will be the ones that will be causing you the most trouble compared to the others. People love playing Bucky, and I get it, I love Bucky as well, but my god, is he freaking frustrating to go up against. And that's kind of it. There's nothing much more to say. You're supposed to be almost just like, I'm gonna hit you a few times with my web, fly over to you, punch you, maybe kill you like that, or maybe not, maybe damage you a tiny bit like this, and I'm gonna quickly skedaddle away and then, you know, go do something else and fight somebody else. Sometimes you're not even gonna be getting the final kills on people. Sometimes you're just gonna be doing some damage, but I think he is definitely my favorite hero to play as. Crazy enough, he's my favorite hero from my childhood and just ever. Like, Spider-Man is obviously everybody's favorite character and hero, but I'm really happy that I was able to learn him and become good as him. I guess another thing that I forgot to mention is you can also do like a power slam on the ground if you double jump and then punch. This is pretty good for tanks, mainly whenever you get them low. So like this guy over here, he's not super low, but you do a pretty good enough damage. Is it different from normal? Come here, dude. Not really. So it really does depend. Don't go for tanks. If you have to, then do, but I don't recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. I will probably be making actual videos of me going on a journey of trying to learn characters because I kind of want to learn everyone, and I already know a good few characters, but there's specific ones inside of the game that I personally want to learn more. So if this video has helped you out in some kind of way, or if you found it entertaining, definitely be sure to subscribe. You should drop a like on the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.